Welcome guys, it's been a long time since I've given an update on the 1984 HJ47 Landcruiser that I'm setting up as a prospecting truck. So this is a quick update on what's going on with the truck. Just to recap, because it's been a long time since I've spoken about it. As I said, HJ47, she's had a chassis extension, so 800mm in the chassis, so she rides beautiful, and she's also got a 6.2 litre Chevy diesel in it. So the purpose of this video is to have a look at all the communications and the navigation gear specifically set up for prospecting. So come with me, we'll jump in the truck and have a quick look at it. Okay guys, sitting behind the wheel of the old cruiser. As you can see, I'll just have a bit of a pan around here. As you can see, she's pretty well stock standard inside. Nothing's much changed there. Still got the old bench seats with all my stuff on it, sort of thing. So pretty much stock standard inside. So what I've done is we've recently put a parcel shelf. I've recently put this parcel shelf up, something I built myself. Up in the top here, okay? So as plenty of you know, I run two phones, so obviously I've got the two phone holders up the top here. Now one is, of course, the daylight helpline, so it's handy when I have to, when I'm away out of service, I can hand this phone off to one of the guys in the shop. So as we just go across the top here, in here I've got a headlamp here on charge. It's just a little USB headlamp right there, so that's all on charge sitting in there. The two phones sit on charge, of course the radio. This is only a 40 channel radio, but it's quite an old radio, but a very, very good radio, really, really clear. It's better than the modern one I've got in my in the Triton, so it's a much better, I find it a much better radio than that. So next across is the iPad, but what we're going to do is we're going to get back to that in a minute. So again, across the top here, stuff I don't use as much. I've got the satellite phone. I've got a big torch which also acts as a spotlight, which sits on charge there. All this stuff sits on charge, ready to use. And then up here, I have got two little, and these aren't on charge at the moment, two little handheld UHFs that I need to build a little clip for, so they clip into the top of that rack there, clip into that rack there and stay there, so they're readily accessible. But again, all USB, charged, ready to go, sort of thing. So let's switch over to this iPad that is probably the key to the whole thing, right here. Okay guys, here's the iPad, ready to rock and roll. So this is an iPhone 6. I think for one feature that I needed for it to happen, you needed to go on iPhone 6, and I'll show you that feature in a minute. Now, I understand there's a lot of reflection on this. In a video coming up very, very shortly, I'm gonna show you the actual detail on this screen without the reflection. I'm gonna record it on a computer. So without further ado, here's the iPad. We've got to press the home to open it. These are the two apps I run, Australian Travel Geo Maps and Gaia, G-A-I-A GPS. Okay, now I have this set up purely as navigation. So even out in the bush without any reception, this has got no reception. You can see at the top there, no reception, or whatever side it shows up on. There's no reception either way. This has got no reception to it. So these are downloaded on the Wi-Fi before I go out. So when I open this map, and this is why I have an iPhone 6, iPad 6, is because this is the feature I can use, the split screen feature. So I can have the two apps running the same time and split the screen however I want it. So very, very clever when you want to focus on one but still keep an eye on the other. Now, let's just start off with travel maps. Now, the travel maps will talk to you when you change when you change geological zones. So we'll start off with just the standard internet map. So you can choose all these map sources. So you can go satellite imagery. It'll just take a moment to load, and we won't not wait for it, but you can actually put on all the geology detail. So that's the geology detail for Queensland. Now, the beauty of this is you can see when you're going into different areas. So as you troll through an area, I tend to focus on Warwick, but this is very, very similar across all the states. So it's got all of this detail on it. Fault lines, you can see the fault lines, the major fault lines running through it. And all of this is scrolling live while I'm traveling through the bush. So this is the sort of detail you need to go to be able to see what's going on. The other thing we can do here is if we just turn off that, let's see if the satellite will load now. Maybe it won't. Let's just have a look at maps here. So here's just a standard Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever you want to call it. Okay. So what you can actually do is then, this button here is GIS features. Okay. So as you can see there, if we were just to look at Queensland, it breaks down all the different materials you can go looking for. Okay, so if we were just to go Queensland gemstones, let's just say Queensland gemstones. Now, all these red dots, right, are gemstone locations. Okay, so they're live scrolling while you go through them while you're driving along the side of the road. If you're interested, for instance, in copper and nickel, right, you can switch across. These are the copper and nickel occurrences. Okay, so any of these things you can switch across to. Okay, the other feature it's got, certainly for Queensland, is mining leases. So if you want to make sure you're not that you're on the right area, it loads all the mining leases. So if we were to scroll into, here's a big one, I would suspect that's coal. What you can then click on and do, if we click on that, multiple GIS features, Greenborough Mining, New Ackland Coal. So that's a New Ackland coal mine. So, yes, so that's the sort of features you can pull up with this. The other thing is, I often have people, if we were to scroll down to the thriving metropolis of Warwick, here's my lease out at Warwick, right there. So tiny little lease, I know, but it's not all about size, okay? So the other thing you can do is mining lease access here. So if we were to plot that data set, it shows you exactly the access track to get into that mining lease. Okay, so huge advantage there. So it shows explanation, it shows loads and loads of information. Okay, now that's fine. Now you can, if we were to go to the download section, okay, as I don't have a internet connection, I don't have the list, but you can download this information for every state. Okay, so if you're interested in an area, every state. In WA it does the tenement system. You can see it only loads Queensland, so New South Wales gets the bum steer there, but on these maps, so it loads the whole state of tenement system sort of thing. So we've got mining claim access roads here. You can see there's a big access road there, quite a long one, up in the North Queensland. So that's basically this map. Okay, the big problem I have with it is we won't plat anything. We'll just go back to Apple Maps for a minute. So the big problem with it is that if I wanted to add a waypoint, and I add a waypoint, mark a location, actually what we'll do is we'll go down a bit further here where I've actually got a waypoint loaded here. So, and I'll put the satellite map up. I'm sure the satellite map works. Here I've downloaded this section, I think. Maybe I haven't, maybe it's the new update. But the waypoints you put in on this machine, on this app, are too broad. That's about a 20-metre square, right? Which is absolutely no good for gold prospecting. It's a big area. So useless for that. Satellite map is not as detailed as some satellite maps, okay? So that's why I use Gaia GPS. They do, and if we just scroll over to that app now, the beauty of Gaia is, if you were to put a waypoint in, if we were to put a waypoint in, add a waypoint right there, let's save that. Okay, we'll save it there. I'll delete it later. You actually get proper, actual waypoint detail. Whereas on the geo travel maps, right, you get the satellite variation. So it's too big a thing. The other thing you can do with Gaia is you can add map overlays. So this is, again, this is the lease here. So you can add stuff to the lease. And it gives you a pretty good topo. This topo map is actually a very, very good overlay over the top of the satellite map. You can see the red lines there. Very, very good. Let me find an area that's a bit more hilly. Let's see here, up in here, I should have some downloaded that is a bit more detail. Maybe I haven't got it loaded. Yeah, so I've only got very specific things loaded in this sat nav, in this thing, because you've got to download the maps to this iPad before you go out. So basically, that's the mapping system I use, and that's also the communication system I use when I'm out in the bush. I've got the satellite map. The only thing I haven't got in here at the moment, and I'm going to add to it, is a personal locator beacon. It's probably a little bit of overkill with the sat phone, but I don't think there's too much overkill you can do with your safety when you're going into really remote areas. So if you've got any questions, sing out in the comments below. I'll try and get through as many comments as I possibly can, but yeah, that's how I work it. So thanks for spending 10 minutes with me having a look at the truck, and there'll be further updates of the truck coming down the track. Okay guys, thanks very much.